quorum, and it is 10 o'clock. So Judge, whenever you're ready.
All right, let's go ahead and call our meeting to order. And, you know, I don't even know what to say as far as welcome remarks. You know, you got the ones I can see, you look great. You haven't changed a bit in a year that we haven't been able to meet. Looking forward to our next meeting in October. We're going to all meet and say that we're not robots, we're really real people. And I hope everybody has a great summer. With that, let's start our roll call. Just say here or whatever you want to when I call your name. Gary Bassinger.
Here.
Chad Burke.
Here.
Dane Carlson. Andrew Van Chow.
Present.
Lance Dean. Deanna Groby. Carlos Guzman. Commissioner Jimmy Henry.
Here.
Here.
Okay, do we have two Jimmy Henrys or we just
We do. We do have two Jimmy Henrys.
We had two here. All right. Cortland
Isn't that
Holmes.
good?
Yeah.
Is
Cortland
that
Holmes.
first?
John Isom.
Here.
Guy Jackson.
I'm here, sir.
Our mayor. Frank Jordan.
Here.
Garrett McLeod. Marlon Mitchell. Wendell Knoll. Joshua Owens.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning. Good morning. Mike Roselle, I'm here, kinda. Jessica Russell. Danielle Schreiner. BJ Simon.
Here.
Quinn Tillotson. Mike Walker. Brandon Willis.
Here.
Annie Yang. And Vince Yoakum.
One advantage about being in the back of the alphabet is when you're running late to a meeting, you can say, I'm here now.
Always to hear you say that, Vince, I tell you. Do we have any more housekeeping, Jillian, before we go into public comment?
We do not necessarily. Just wanted to give a quick little shout to, we have a couple of new members of the economic development team in-house here at H-GAC. We've got Daryl Briscoe, who I believe is on the call. Daryl, feel free to say.
Yes, I'm here. Nice to meet you guys.
Excellent. He's joining us as a planner. And we also have an AmeriCorps Vista who's joined us for the next year. His name's William Connors. William, are you on board yet?
Yes, I am.
Excellent.
Right. Do we still have, Jillian, do we still have the rural to where the new people that come in the July meetings that they buy lunch at the October meeting?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
That's
so
right. And since there's two of them, it'll be an even more extravagant meeting this time around.
Yeah.
So
welcome, guys.
Tony's. We'll have to go to Tony's.
Well, that's where we went last time with you guys, so I don't see.
Yeah.
That's right. But no, that should do it, though. I'm very happy to have them, and so we've got a good group to move some of these exciting initiatives ahead in our action plan in the Senate. So
good.
Thank you, Judge.
Looking forward to that. Now, item number 3, public comment. Anyone from the public signed on? Okay, don't hear any. Item number 4, approved minutes of our April 9th, 2021 GCEDD board meeting. I'm assuming
So move. Second.
Sarah, were you able to capture those?
Looks like he's frozen, Jillian.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Well, that's that Oklahoma internet for you.
Yeah, that's right. He may call back in. Let's give him just a quick moment. If anyone needs to refill their coffee, feel free
And
to.
Jillian, by the way, I just saw that Dane Carlson confirmed on the chat that he's just joined.
Oh, okay, great. Welcome, Dane. right. Okay, he lost connection. Let's see if he can get called in. Oh, he should be joining us once again.
Josh Owens.
Give me just 1 minute, y'all. I'm going to mute myself. All right, so his computer did the whole, I'm gonna shut down on you in the middle of your meeting and restart completely. So BJ, would you mind taking over presiding the meeting, please?
Sure, sure thing. I think the next item on the agenda was to approve financial reports. The first item is the H-GAC 2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report.
Actually, I think we were taking a vote on the minutes. Did that get completed?
Oh, yeah, we had a move and a second. That's right.
And a second.
We still have to
Sure.
do a vote on that.
Sure. All in favor of approving the minutes of April 9th, 2021?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, Andrew.
Now, sure. Very good. Now on to the next item, approve financial reports. The H-GAC 2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report.
That's right. We have our CFO, Nancy Hausler, joining us today. Nancy, do you have any comments or anything to share on the financial report today?
Good morning. We're happy to present this financial report to you today. I think it's Josh that's running this, but if you'll go to page 13 of this report, this is our comprehensive annual financial report. For your information, we present this to you annually. We have the funds of the Gulf Coast Economic Development District audited in connection with HGAC's audit. Because the Gulf Coast Economic Development District is considered a component unit of the Houston-Galveston Area Council. There you go, it's up right. This page indicates the independent auditor's report. For your information, the auditors presented this to the H-GAC board last month, but I'm happy to report to you that the auditors have a clean opinion, an unmodified opinion of HGAC's financial statements. And that includes a review of your transactions as well. The Gulf Coast Economic Development District, as a separate component unit, is subject to the same audit requirements as HGAC's records. So this opinion carries over onto your financial statements as well. If you'll go to page 27 of this report. Keep going. There you go. Can you go back one page? Just one page.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, right there. This is the statement of net position. This is, in layman's terms, the balance sheet. And so if you'll notice, The fifth column over is the Gulf Coast Economic Development Corporation, which is the balance sheet of the Gulf Coast Economic Development Corporation. You can see that your total assets for the corporation are about $1.7 million. The total liabilities, the only liability you have actually is to H-GAC for some management expenses that we did not completely bill through December 31st. They have since been billed. And if you'll just scroll just a little bit down, that leaves you with a the balance of your fund that is unrestricted to you is $1,648,485. Next page, please. All right. This is the statement of activities. The statement of activities is, in short, an income statement. So on this statement, if you'll look to the left under component units, it is the second line in that statement. And so you can see that the expenses for the Gulf Coast Economic Development District for the year were $231,862. The revenues were $240,825. And therefore, the increase to the corporation net at the end of the year was $8,963. So it was a positive year, not a big positive year. It was a challenging year for the organization and for all of us. And so I think anytime you come out with a positive year, you'll notice the other component units didn't fare so well. So the Gulf Coast Economic Development District did fine during the year. We're happy to report that to you. I'll pause here and answer any questions you have. Again, this is a clean opinion on the corporation, and we are asking for your approval of this report today.
I make a motion to approve the report.
Second.
A second.
All in favor of approving the H-GAC 2020 comprehensive annual financial report as presented?
Aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I'm back. I don't
Is
know
the judge back? Okay. All right.
Welcome back.
Where are we, Jillian?
We are, we just passed the 2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, and now we've moved into the Business Loan Fund report and thereafter the district financial report. So we do have Isaac here to answer any questions that you all may have on the Business Loan Fund. Here it's a little wonky. I can't quite turn the page, but you should have it in your packets. Any questions or comments for Isaac on that?
I had a couple under Isaac, under Charlie, the Italian restaurant, and then David and LaCroix. Potential write-off. Is that a 50% potential? Is that can you give us any update on that? What's happening?
Those are in the Galveston Recovery Fund, if I'm not mistaken, not our RLF.
Okay.
That's exactly right, Joshua. And so I don't know the details of why now we show it on here, but it's not something that's underneath our business loan fund or RLF.
Okay. What? Okay. That was my next question after what you just said was, why are we showing it on here? You don't know. Can we check that? I mean, I'm just curious. It's not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
But what, if it's not concerns us, why are we having it on here?
Absolutely. And if, Jillian, if you don't know that, I'll definitely reach out and find out why we actually show this still. Yeah. Because it's my understanding that we're done with those and we're not actually, I think it's just our attempt to be comprehensive and not remove items so that we have a standing history.
Okay.
But it may not be necessary for future meetings.
Okay. No problem. All I have.
Isaac. So then, before I leave this, any other questions or comments before we take a vote on the BLF?
Okay. You ready to vote? Are we voting on just the BLF?
I think you'll need the motion. Yes.
Okay, I'll move for approval.
Second.
Second. Okay. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. What I should have said, I've run enough of these that if there's opposed, say no. We'll do that on the next one. Good job. Motion passes. Okay. Jillian?
Yes, sir. Then the next one is just our most updated. This is through May of this year. So our review of the GCDD's financial report on the year-to-date, the financial year-to-date. So happy to field any of your questions. It's fairly straightforward, but nothing new or tricky has taken place or anytime this time around. So I don't have any updates on this report, but happy to answer questions.
Jillian, is that a typo on the December 2024 date?
Yeah.
No, that's actually because the performance period for the grant of this report is through 2024 to 3 years.
Okay, just wanted to confirm.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Good question. Any other questions?
This is Gary. Given that, Julian, it's got a $244,000 and change balance. So that's supposed to last till the end of 2024.
Yes, that is the 3-year planning and technical assistance grant. But yes, and that's not, I mean, Josh, you may have more actual background on this, but that is not an unusual amount. It's the same as the last time, the 2018 to 2021 period. And it doesn't cover everything that we do, but it is the portion of the grant that the GCDD typically operates the bulk of their programs from.
That's correct, Jillian.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Do we know how this compares to other EDDs in Texas, or for the same size and population? Is this comparable?
Yes, sir. It is. They're all about the same, particularly for the metros of our size. And I couldn't answer actually for maybe some of the smaller cogs, but yes, these are given the combination of the match and the grant award from the EDA. This is a pretty standard amount. Anything to add, Jeff or Josh?
Yeah, all the economic development districts get the same amount of funding, but we tend to get a little more directed at us because of our size over time, but not through this grant, through other kind of ways. So yes, this is standard.
Okay, other questions?
Would it be, I mean, since this is then actually a specific grant, should we just reflect that that's what this is about, and not necessarily reflecting our overall impact? It would just seem that, for folks who are looking at what the GCEDD is doing and such, and there are other grants from EDA, et cetera, whether or not there's a consideration in how that shows up. Just a quick question, just for clarity for everybody.
From my inside baseball, this is the operating grant that the EDA gives out to economic development districts. So it is the source of funding to run a development district. If we got additional funding from another source, I think we could delineate that differently. But as historically, this is what we use because it is our operations grant for this development district.
Okay.
Okay. Good questions. Anyone else? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the financial report?
I move approval.
Second. Okay. And motion made and second. Further discussion? Hear none. Those opposed, say no. If not, this motion passes. Thank you very much. Jillian, I think we're going into item number 6, presentations. Do you want to introduce our presenters?
Yes, sir. Well, I'm going to have Sophia and Andrea introduce themselves, but I'm going to hand the screen over to them. I do have them as a backup though, but they are going to share a bit of a spotlight on a technology tool known as Bludot and an opportunity that they've got going on right now to potentially partner with more rural communities. I thought you guys might want to know about it. And we also have Josh, one of our members, is actually come engaged with them and is really excited to use their tool. So we're going to have a sort of tech showcase today. Sophia, whenever you're ready.
All right. Sharing my screen. Okay, is my screen visible, Jillian?
It is.
Yep. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jillian, for having me today. I am super excited to be sharing with you guys what we have been working with for different cities' economic development teams, and also just a really quick run through of the platform, as well as how cities may have been using it. And also, like Jillian mentioned, the last slide would be a quick overview of an opportunity that we have in terms of a research study with rural communities specifically. All right, a quick intro. My name is Sophia. I'm the founder and CEO of Bludot Technologies, and I am here today with Ms. Andrea Gardner. Andrea, do you want to say a few words to introduce yourself?
Good morning. Thank you, Sophia. As Sophia said, I'm Andrea Gardner. I'm the city manager, but I'm also tasked with economic development and working with the Watauga Economic Development Corporation Board. To improve our business retention efforts. That has been a huge focus for the board this past year. And so I've enjoyed working with Sophia on an online directory, which I know she's going to talk about more. So thank you for having us today.
Andrea, can I ask a question before you start?
Sure.
Where is Watauga, Texas?
Did you say where is Watauga, Texas?
Yes.
It's nestled in between Keller, North Richland Hills, and Fort Worth.
Okay.
So on the north side of Fort Worth.
Yes.
Okay.
If you've heard of Chef Point Restaurant from the Diners, Dive-Ins, and Drive, whatever that show is called on HG.
That's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah. We've been showcased. That particular restaurant here has been showcased on that TV show. So.
All right. Well, congratulations. All right.
All righty. Very cool. Okay. Well, in today's presentation, I'm just going to go through a few slides, and then I will do a quick intro for the Bludot platform, and then I will hand it over to Andrea, and she will cover a few examples of how they have been using it in the city of Watauga. Okay. A quick background intro of who we are. Bludot was built in the beginning of 2019 from a 16-week partnership with the city of Walnut Creek. City of Walnut Creek is a small, medium-sized city just across the bay from San Francisco. Their economic development team was a total of 1.3 full-time people supporting over 5,000 local businesses. So as you can imagine, it's quite a difficult ratio, and we were picked as their startup partner to build a solution for them so that they can have a better way to manage, track, and support all of the data, all of the engagement for all of their business retention and expansion efforts. So during the 16-week partnership, we literally had a desk in their city hall, and we built Bludot from scratch to really meet this use case. Since our public launch, towards the beginning of 2020, our business retention and expansion solution are now being used by communities across over 12 states, and we are used by 5 communities in Texas. So super excited to meet you all today, and we do have Josh on the line with us today. Hi, Josh.
Hello.
Alrighty. Hey.
We've loved using Bludot.
Thank you, Josh. Alrighty. A quick slide to give a quick overview of what is all included in the Bludot platform. The first part, which is the core platform of ours, this is the business retention and expansion CRM portal. So this portal was built so that your city would have a better way to manage, track, and engage with all of your local businesses, track the historical contact, any relevant data, send a targeted outreach, just have a better way and more efficient way to have all of those analytics and all of those knowledge and information handy within a few clicks. This portal is also one that does come with data. We know that data is something that is really important, but also often challenging to get, especially in the smaller, small to mid-sized communities. So Bludot is a platform that does come with data through our partnerships with data providers, such that from the first time that you log in, it's already populated with all of your companies, employee sizes, revenue breakdowns, industry sectors, so on and so forth. So we try to take a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to data and tech off your hands, so that you can focus on kind of engaging with your local businesses. Alrighty. The second part is called Bludot Open. This is actually a public-facing site that was built in the beginning of COVID. It started as open essential business site because when COVID hit and a lot of our cities were coming to us and say, can we make some of these information actually publicly visible so that people can know who are all the businesses in our city and who they can support. Ever since then, it has basically become a digital business directory that cities have been using to promote all of their local businesses to the community. Another great way, another great aspect of this platform is that it actually allows business owners to modify their information themselves. So a business owner can literally come in and edit their profile, put any promotions they might be running, change their, put a point to their social media profiles, websites, change their hours, so on and so forth. So it's a great way for to create some engagement and benefit for the local businesses, as well as making sure that consumers have a one-stop, easy to access page to find all of the businesses in your city. All right. The last part, which is something that was brand new that we'll be launching this summer, is called Open Rewards. We're launching it in collaboration with cities as a citywide rewards program that would allow cities to really, move a needle and incentivize consumers to come out and support their local businesses. So imagine it will work something like when consumers shop at a local business within your city, let's say a restaurant, they will get 5% credit back that they can spend at any other businesses within your same city. They can't take that money out. They must spend it at another business within your city. Could be an ice cream store, could be a cafe, things like that. This way, we ensure that all of the money stays local. They can't take it out. It must go back into the economy, brings them back for repeat purchase. So it's a great way as we come into the summer and people are out and about. We want to make sure that we can partner with cities to launch this kind of rewards programs so that they can incentivize and change the consumer behavior. All righty. Next, I will give a really quick run through of the business retention and the CRM portal, so that I will be using a demo city platform so you can kind of have a really quick sense of how it looks like. Alrighty, what you're seeing on the screen here, this is our business retention and expansion portal. And you can see that on the left-hand side, we have the different categories, what we call labels, whereby you can dig into a particular segment of your business population. For example, if I were to click on retail trade, the list then updates to the 125 businesses in your community that is categorized under retail trade. Now, on the right-hand side, you can also search by any custom queries. For example, if you want to reach all of your businesses that have less than 25 employees, also less than $1 million in revenue, you can easily reach these targeted set of businesses through this kind of easy to use toggles, such that you can send all these businesses a message. Maybe there's a resource or there's an event that's going on that is relevant for them. And lastly, there is also a map view whereby you can see all of the businesses in a collective map, and you can zoom in and search by the map directly. Alrighty. And then when we come into a business profile, this is whereby you will be seeing a timeline view of all of the history of contact and information when it comes to one business profile in your city. This way, you can always easily pull up the same business profile and see exactly what was discussed 3 months ago, 6 months ago, whether it was with you or another team member. Doesn't matter. We want to make sure that all of this information is easily accessible at your fingertips. The details tab is whereby you will be modifying and changing all of the underlying data points for a particular business, whether it be the could be square footage, facility type, contact information, so on and so forth. Anything that is relevant for you that you want to track for a local business, it will be present in the details tab. And lastly, really quickly, I wanted to highlight the group poster feature where you can send a message to a select target of your local business population within a few clicks by using the labels. And then go back to the previous screen and type your message in the box here. Once you hit send, this message will be sent to your selected audience immediately as an email, okay? Once the message is sent to local businesses, what you'll see here is that we're able to track the analytics when it comes to how many businesses have actually opened your message, when did they open it, so on and so forth, so that you can get a little bit more feedback around the effectiveness of your email campaign, so then you can adjust your follow-up strategies accordingly. Okay. All right, switching gears back to the slides. On the next slide, we have summarized here just a few points that Andrea and the City of Watauga wanted to highlight today in terms of how they have been using the platform and how it has been most useful for their economic development efforts. And here I will hand it over back to Andrea. If you want to take us through some of these points and share with us how your city have been using it, that would be really helpful.
Very good. Thank you, Sophia. As Sophia mentioned, we were tracking our businesses and communicating with our businesses in a very archaic manner. We were using Excel to track a list of all of our businesses, their contact information, email addresses, and then we set up groups in Outlook to communicate with them. And the problem that we were running into is that a lot of the businesses weren't keeping their information up to date. And so when we would send out mass emails, a third of them or better would come back to us as undeliverable. So that's one of the great things that I appreciate about the Bludot system is the analytics piece that Sophia just went over, and it lets me know who's reading it, when they read it, and then that way I can quickly identify if there's an issue and communicate with that business to get their information updated. So the analytics is just awesome. And I'm probably not going to cover these in the exact order that Sophia has them listed here. But then the businesses have responded really well to what I call the open portal, which is where they can go in and enter all of their information about their business. We have businesses that go in there once a week and put in new specials that they might be running. They also might change their hours, but they've really responded well to this open portal, and they love it. The residents like that they can filter to try to find the types of businesses that they're looking for within the city. So this particular tool has been very useful. We set it up by areas based off of our shopping centers in Watauga. And so that's just the common way that the citizens identify with them. And then also we worked with Bludot to establish the categories for all the businesses. But it was real simple on our end. All I had to do was provide Sophia with that spreadsheet that we were using to track our businesses. And then we had that information that was listed in a very hard to read manner on our website because it was just a bunch of data. And now it puts it in a nice format that also incorporates a map so that the people can find, the citizen that's looking for a business can find the location of the business once they've identified where they would like to go. But as I was saying, we just sent her the Excel spreadsheet and she populated all of the information. And then so all I had to do was go in and verify, make sure everything came across correctly, and it did. It was a super easy implementation process for the City of Watauga, and our businesses just absolutely seem to love it. We see a lot of traffic. That's the other side. We get analytics on that too, not just the messages that we send out to our business, but it tells us how often they're updating, how often people are utilizing the directory, how many people sign up to be notified of changes. So it just has amazing analytics that the board has appreciated. So not only are they able to see the end product, but they also get the analytics that show them how well that product that they purchase from Bludot is actually working for our businesses. And then of course our mayor goes out and visits with our businesses with myself. And when he hears all the positive comments, though, that's always very nice for him to hear those and then share those back with myself. So, did I miss anything, Sophia?
I think that's really great. Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, I guess the only thing I would, I think we covered all of them. Thank you, Andrea. I think those are definitely some of the ways that we've seen other cities have benefited from the platform as well. I'm super excited to hear that it's been really helpful. It has been really well received by the businesses in your city, and they're coming in and updating their information. That's exactly what we built it for. So thank you, Andrea. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, the only other thing, Sophia, that I would share is that we've actually had a number of businesses in the surrounding communities that have tried to get into our directory because the word has gotten around. And of course, we've had to deny that because the purpose of it is to promote our local businesses. But that just tells you how popular it is and has been in Watauga.
Cool.
We've had probably well over a dozen outside businesses try to become a part of our directory.
Oh, cool. Those cities should join Bludot.
Right.
This is Josh. We are also Bludot clients, and one of the reasons we like it is the usability. We looked at several other vendors, and we had another BR&E vendor that the usability of the software was really a challenge. And when you're a one-person or a two-person shop, not being able to get that data quickly or easily really hampers your efforts. So what really sets this apart from other vendors we've seen and why I give it my personal endorsement is just it's so easy to use and compared to other software that I've seen. And I've looked at most of the major vendors.
Hey, Josh, are you using that as a county level tool or a city by city tool? And Sophia, if you can add to what Josh says, what you've seen in other areas.
Yes, so El Campo, Carolyn Gibson and El Campo and Wharton Economic Development partnered on it so that we could have a cross-reference listing and try to kind of rise all boats. So it is a county-wide effort.
Yeah, to quickly answer that, we've seen a combination of both in our other cities as well. Sometimes it's just an individual city. Sometimes it's a county-wide. We have 2 counties in Virginia signed up, and then sometimes it could even be regional, right? So we have like the Northern Nevada Development Authority, which covers the entire Northern Nevada region. I think that includes several counties, and then so on and so forth. So Cape Ann in Massachusetts is signing up with us, and it's a combination of, I believe, 4 communities out there in a very touristy and pretty area. So it's definitely a combination of, just depending on kind of what the economic development organization oversees, who are the business constituents, and that really matter for them. Yeah.
Sophia or Andrea, do you have a list of cities, counties here in Texas that have signed on to Bludot?
Yes. Right here. These are the 5. Is my screen visible, Mike? Can you see the list of the 5 here? Okay.
Yeah, so it's these 5. Okay.
Sophia, yep. So if we wanted to do it countywide, is there a rate for individual cities and then a rate for a countywide license or whatever?
Great question. So in terms of the rate, it really just depends on how many businesses are on the platform. So we've seen some cities that have just a countywide, and then each city also have user access to access the data, and that is totally fine with us. Another thing is that the rate doesn't depend on the number of users accessing the platform. So you can very well include as many cities, users, and the individual staff members as you like. It does not change the rate also. So the only thing that it depends on is how many businesses that you want to include.
Are you getting feedback that, Sophia, are you getting feedback that chambers of commerces or others might be not either not so happy or asking, well, how can we tap into this? I mean, have you seen both sides of that equation?
Yeah, the not so happy part, not so much. Luckily, so far in our experience with cities, it's a fairly collaborative relationship with their chambers. So obviously the chamber is more focused on their, fee-paying members, whereas the city or the county wants to be, supporting all of the registered businesses. But in the sense that, if the city or county does provide this service to promote all of the local businesses, I think the chamber should, create other value adds for their local businesses, such as hosting events and other workshops and just additional things that that they can do on their side. So it's been a collaborative experience. There are also other organizations, right, such as downtown associations, Main Street, any trade associations that cover certain areas of the city or the county, so on and so forth. So all of those we have seen. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
All right.
Sophia, I have a question. On logging in. If all these businesses want to go to Bludot, do they have to have their own individual password and such as that to log in?
Great question, Gary. No, they do not, and that is why we set it up. We set it up this way. We wanted to make sure that it's extremely easy to access, even for the not so tech savvy business owners, right? So they don't have to create any logins. All they have to do is come to the open site, click on one of these businesses, such as this one, and then there would be an edit button that they can click, whereby they just fill out this extremely simple one-page form. They don't have to be very tech savvy at all. They don't have to keep track of another username or password, just to fill out this form. And then in the end, when they hit submit, you will come to the city's, the city's admin users for review. So for example, Andrea and her team would be able to just take a quick look through, making sure that information is good. And then when they approve it, it will be live for everybody else to see. So we wanted to make sure that it's the least amount of hurdles. If we require business to register and log in, we're worried, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, that it will hurt participation. So this is why we designed it this way. Did I answer your question, Gary?
Yep, thanks.
All right.
Sophia, Michael here.
Yeah, hi, Mike.
So are your contracts made with the cities, and then the cities go out and invite all their businesses, include all their businesses, so that the payment is by the cities? Do the businesses pay to get in here also to the city, or part of your contract?
Yeah, businesses do not have to pay. It's entirely cost-free for the businesses to participate. So it's all included as part of the service that we provide to the city. So as part of the platform, the businesses do not have to pay anything. They just come in and change the information. So it's entirely cost-free for the business to have another way to promote their services in a city-sponsored website. And also, we encourage them to, add as much information as they can, whether it be images or promotions. And also when they add their, for example, their websites or their social media links, it creates another backlink to those pages that they have, which increases search engine ranking. Google likes that. So all of the above. These are benefits that we've seen this providing to local businesses.
Do you work with local chambers of commerce as well as cities?
We've so far mainly focused on the cities. Chambers are kind of like a partner for us. I think we've worked with chambers primarily when we want to promote local businesses, and also some cities may want to collaborate with the chambers when it comes to gathering some local business related data. So the chambers may have more data around their members that they can share with the city to populate the platform. And similarly with the other trade organizations or downtown associations and things like that. I would say we haven't had any direct customers that are chambers, besides I would say K-Pan, that's actually a chamber, but that's more of a regional thing. So I would say in a city, a county level, so far it's been mostly economic development, city development organizations.
Thank you.
All right.
It was.
Sophia, it looks like that the business entry page is a open concept. So there's no password to protect it. What's to keep somebody from going in and changing somebody else's page?
Well, great question. It's a question that is always asked. That is the way that we're handling that right now, is that when somebody wants to edit their page, they do have to provide their name and email address. So just by their name and email address, the city does have a way of tracking who is the person that is requesting this change. So that doesn't need to be verified. Yeah, obviously having usernames and passwords is a lot more secure. However, it also does create hurdles. So it's kind of like, which one do you want? We opted for the more open concept. So far we haven't seen any bad players, knock on wood. But also, I think just the extra step of requiring them to put in their identifiable information, who's their name and email, has been, I believe, a deterrent, if that's the word, for the bad players to come in and modify somebody else's. All right. Any other questions, folks?
Other questions?
Well, I've got one for Andrea.
Okay.
And that is, how's Harry Jeffries doing? I haven't seen him in a while since we both stopped being mayors.
I honestly don't know, sir. I have not had the pleasure of meeting him, so.
You're missing out. He's a good man.
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
I've got a question for Josh. Josh, how long have you been using this?
We've been using it about 2 months, and we're still kind of working on editing and getting it up to shape. But it's just been so much easier than all of our other BRE platforms that we've used before, that it's been really a relief.
Good. Okay, thanks.
Josh, is your contract with your EDC or with Wharton City?
It is both Wharton City and El Campo together are in the same platform.
Okay.
Because we want, if we don't have it in Wharton, we want people to go to El Campo to get it, and vice versa.
Well, I'm already seeing it. I mean, I'm seeing it in Fort Bend County. It seems like all the cities, they have their own EDC, they have their own chamber. You've got the county, and then you got all the businesses.
We're just more quaint down here in Wharton.
I know. Yeah, but it's a big street. I'm just thinking countywide, and specifically, all the counties that are represented here, that it seems like everyone wants to do their own deal. We know the chambers want to do their own deal because they have paying members. EDCs, when we first started in Fort Bend, we had the Greater Fort Bend EDC, which helped everyone, all the cities. And then we have, I guess, morphed into where each city, a lot of the larger cities, they have their own EDC. So I'm thinking problems, Sophia or Andrea, have you seen or do you foresee a turf war here? I could see to where the county, specifically the county, could take this on and bring in all the cities, because that benefits the county and the cities. But as a partnership with all the EDCs, and if the chambers want to get involved, I don't quite understand all that. I don't see them wanting to get involved in it because they kind of have their own books. It shows all their businesses, but I could definitely see where the county could be the spearhead here and bring in all the cities together and work it that way. Does that make sense or no? And you won't hurt my feelings if you say no.
I think that definitely could work. For example, we're actually launching the state of Kentucky, and then we're launching out all of the 120 counties. And then there's also it's a statewide effort, but there's a statewide organization that kind of sees the each individual county. But then each individual county would have their own login and access and manage their own information. So when it comes to a county to the individual EDCs, it could be a similar setup whereby maybe the county is the one initiating it, but maybe each individual EDC, if they don't want to necessarily have their contacts with their own businesses be seen by others, they can still have individual access to their own list of workspace, so to speak. Does that make sense? Did that answer your question, Mike?
Yes, somewhat. I'm going to have to study this more. I've got a lot of ideas I'm thinking about that could work for everyone.
So Sophia, it sounds like this is very scalable. The question becomes, so far, I mean, you just mentioned the state of Kentucky, so that sounds like a big pilot project. But do you see a difference or a challenge when looking at rural versus urban areas where, you know, I mean, here we are in the greater Houston-Galveston area, and, you know, we're talking 5 million plus people, X number, you know, tens of thousands of businesses. Is it scalable, or do you see that there may be certain limits at this point?
Good question.
Definitely, yeah, great question. Definitely very scalable. It's the application is hosted in AWS, so from a technical standpoint, it's very scalable. And to answer your question, kind of what's the difference between, if we've seen difference between the rural and urban areas, rural areas definitely face its own set of challenges when it comes to the type of businesses there is, and also the focus of the economic development. And I think actually that's a great segue to lead into my last slide, which is the fact that we are actually recently won a grant from USDA to conduct a rural economic development research study. So here's more information on the slide here. And this study is specifically designed to help us answer that exact question, Andrew, to see how our tool can be made most useful for the rural communities specifically. And the grant basically allows us to onboard 43 rural communities all across the U.S. To join the study for 6 months, access the platform, give us feedback, access all of the data as well. We want to hear from all of the rural communities to see how we can make this platform most useful and most impactful for their economic development efforts. So here's more information on the page here. If any of you all that are in a rural community are interested, please feel free to click on any of these links. And here's the sign up link as well.
The best part about being an SBIR, it's non-dilutive. So congratulations.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Andrew. We're super excited to be getting this. It's non-dilutive, as you mentioned, free money from us. So thank you, USDA. And you allow us to bring on partners like you all and to help us push the technology forward.
Okay.
All right.
Very good questions.
Hello, Sophia. Just one additional question. Is there a resiliency component to this that you envision with respect to responding to hurricanes and disasters and the like? I know that some of the challenges in rural areas in the past when SBA funding was available, they were not prepared. Small businesses were not prepared to respond efficiently and effectively without broad technical assistance. Do you see an ability to be able to plug in a component to this as part of your research?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Plugging which part? I caught the hurricane part.
Just a resiliency component to the BRNE platform for small businesses in a rural area.
Right. Yeah. Great question. So, but it's one of the cities that
in case that helps, think about business continuity and maybe some of the things that you guys learned through the COVID process, if that helps provide context when talking about resiliency.
Resiliency, yeah, great. In fact, when we first launched the platform publicly, it was right before COVID. So literally right from the onset, most of our cities have been using our platform through COVID. I would say that a lot of how cities have been using it was for resiliency related issues. For example, they were able to share resources really quickly with their local businesses through the platform, track their engagements with those resources, also using the map to see who are the businesses that are engaging with those resources, applying for the grant, attending the workshops, or so on and so forth, making sure that they have a good coverage for all of the areas within the city, and they can also present those information to the relevant stakeholders. And then just, for example, one of the cities in Texas was joined our platform after the winter storm, which was really bad several months ago. And they wanted a way to just easily send a message to all of the businesses and tell them to shut off their water, right? So easy use cases like that, just having a platform whereby you can, within a few clicks, you can disseminate those information really quickly and efficiently. I would say is a huge benefit when it comes to resiliency and this kind of disaster response.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that we highlighted when we applied for the grant towards the end of last year, when I was writing the 17-page proposal. And I would say it's also highlighted in a lot of the support letters that we were gathering from our communities when it comes to why this platform is useful, especially when it comes to like immediate response, and also how we can make it most useful for rural communities. For example, one feedback that we have already gotten through our communications with rural communities is maybe just communicating by email is not enough. Maybe because of the internet access throughout the region may not be very good, and then perhaps text messaging is one thing that needs to be added as part of the communication methods to the platform. So that's one example of the kind of feedback that we have already received for the more rural communities out there. So we're looking for more of those as part of our study.
Sophia, you said that pricing was based on the number of businesses. How is the number of businesses determined?
By however many that you upload, that you want to include on the platform.
So
for example,
there's no certain number. You can have 1 million.
I suppose it could be. But then, for example, our cities have basically just included, for example, some cities have business licensing departments, so they give us an export of all of those that are registered in the platform. We also have our data sources, so we're able to supplement with the data that we source when it comes to local business data. And then there are some cities that say, well, yeah, I want to include everyone. And then some cities say, well, I don't really talk to the home-based business much, so maybe let's not include those, so on and so forth. So it's been we're very flexible in terms of which are the businesses that you want to include. And then there are some EDCs that we've talked to in other parts of the country that says, well, our EDC really only talks to the manufacturing, the industrial, like the kind of the industrial sector businesses, and we don't really deal with the retail much. Totally fine with us. So by what I mean by just depends on how many businesses on the platform is that we want to make sure that you have the flexibility to include the business constituents that are relevant for your processes and your work. We don't have any requirements as to, oh, you have to include this many, just however many that's relevant for your work. Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Good questions. Anyone else?
Yeah.
I just want to make the comment that our costs were about half of our previous vendor using Bludot. So that's another reason why I'm very pleased.
Yay.
Hey, Sophia, to participate in that grant project, is there a cost associated with that for a city to apply and then participate?
No, it's entirely cost-free, funded by the USDA for 6 months.
And then last question,
sorry.
how are you going to make the determination whether that community is rural or not?
I've actually looked on a definition for rural community. Apparently it's very hard to define. So I leave it up to you all to self-identify as rural communities. So that's totally fine with me. I don't know how to define it, so it's fine. And then in terms of the 6 months project, it starts in August of this year. All right. And
well, Sophia, that's a great question. I'm sorry. Let me ask this. I was thinking the same thing, Andrew, because in Fort Bend County, if you look at the, Katy and Sugar Land and Missouri City and places like that, you would never think that it had any rural whatsoever. But we are still 70, 75% rural. So let me ask a direct question. Can we include all our cities? Because as a county, we're rural. I mean, and I mean, I don't know what, I would say that, and I live in Sugar Land, I would say, well, we're not rural in Sugar Land, but you know, you can go a mile from my home and there's cotton growing, you know? So yep. I'm thinking all of our cities could apply for this. Would you agree or not?
Yeah, happy to.
Okay.
Yeah, the more the better.
Just do it by the 15th.
Yeah. Is this a matter of just going to this website and signing up our city manager or whoever just signs up and does it, or the EDCs? Okay. Right here.
It's a really simple one-page form. I just want to, in the form, we just confirm that, make sure that you're, you know, available to attend the study during the 6-month period from August forward, and then very minimum commitments such as monthly check-ins with us to make sure that you're engaged with the platform. Also give us feedback, because your opinions are what's most important for us in terms of the study. So that's it. Yeah, one-page form.
Okay.
And you guys should all have copies of these presentations in your packet, and they'll go online if you guys have to hunt it down. You don't have to just look at this screen right now. You guys have it in hand.
Okay, great. Any other questions? This has been a great presentation. Exciting.
All right.
Okay. Jillian?
Thank you, everybody, again.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you, Sophia.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you so much for your time. All right. With that, I'm going to hand it over to our Community and Environmental Planning Director, Jeff Taebel. Now, Jeff, would you feel more comfortable sharing your screen, or would you like me to share
Let
mine?
me try to share mine. I am a known technology buster, so if that happens, I'll kick it back to you, Jillian.
No problem. Jeff is going to be sharing the recent progress and completion of our regional conservation framework. So here we go. We can see your screen now. It is
okay.
Visible.
Well, good morning, Judge. Good morning, members. It is good to see you in warm, glowing screen light on this cloudy day. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeff Taebel, the Director of Community and Environmental Planning at H-GAC. And today I'd like to share with you an exciting new program that I think will have some considerable synergy with your efforts at the district. I run a risk of beginning a presentation by getting out of my lane right away. Jillian, I think we have a definition of the USDA rural communities. We've been vexed with this same elusive definition problem, and different grant programs handle it differently. But if we can track that down, could you send that out to the members?
I'd be happy to share that with y'all. Although, to your point, Jeff, it is a slippery definition by USDA's own shifting guidelines, but it's really only 2 or 3 different types of definitions. And if you all want to remain aware of it, and I'm sure it will ultimately also come down to Sophia's definition, but happy to send that around.
Well, it might be of use for other projects in the future, too, because it is not as straightforward as one might hope. So hopefully that will be the last non-straightforward thing in my presentation today. Back in the fall of 2019, we were approached by the Houston Endowment about H-GAC's potential interest in developing a regional conservation plan. And as this group well knows, H-GAC, and I think our region in general, is not super big on top-down sort of planning exercises. What we proposed instead was a framework for action that could help leverage a lot of the great local efforts that are going on. And that resulted in a grant from the endowment that funded a year-long planning process. I'll tell you a little bit more about what went into that, and culminated in our board approving our first ever regional conservation framework at their March meeting this year. I'm going to give you an overview of the framework, and we'll speak specifically to some of the opportunities I see with conservation in terms of advancing ecotourism, recreation, and general beautification opportunities that are part of y'all's economic development strategies. So we began this process, I think, in the best way possible. We did a lot of listening. We conducted online listening sessions with all 13 of our counties, and the primary focus of our discussions was with local elected officials and key staff who were involved in conservation projects, as well as some of the nonprofits, state and federal agencies that are involved in funding those sorts of projects. One thing that I will lift out from those meetings is there was a little bit of a show me the money attitude by some of our members in that they have heard about, you know, conservation and natural amenities being a big resource and can be paired with economic development strategies, but they would like to see that defined a little bit more explicitly. And so that is going to be a key focus of our efforts. We really want to make sure these are multi-benefit types of projects. I'm going to go through a little bit these other bullets, the vision and strategies. We've got some tools that can help you access funding resources, but most importantly, we are going to use this framework as a basis for H-GAC's ongoing conservation efforts, and I'll make an exciting announcement about that at the end of my overview. I always feel that I need to begin, though, by making the case for conservation, as it were. I expect I might be preaching to the choir here, but as I have talked with my peers from other parts of the country, I think there is this misperception that our natural areas really are not our strongest selling point. I'm trying to understand what it is that we lack in that area. And as much as I have scratched my head about it, I can come up with only one thing. We don't have any mountains, okay? So it's hard to fit that iconic, you know, Mount Hood, Mount Rainier image on a postcard. But I would argue that our natural features are absolutely second to none, certainly in any major metro area. We've got a wide variety of ecoregions that include forests, amazing habitat. We're an international bird watching destination, fishing, water sports, and just plain beauty of our prairies and wetland areas and all different manner of trees. And I think that we could probably do a better job of being brand ambassadors. I also want to give a shout out to all the great local and voluntary conservation programs that have been underway and really picking up steam in the past decade. What we're really trying to do with this effort, though, is leverage that whole to be greater than the sum of the parts. I think there's a lot of I don't want to call them piecemeal, but a little bit of a scattershot of efforts. And our hope with this framework is to bring them under maybe a broader unifying vision, and particularly tap into the power of local governments and how they can integrate conservation into their planning. I think the other thing that really has emerged considerably since we started this whole process is looking at conservation as a flood mitigation strategy as well. And when we can get those triple bottom line benefits of economic development, quality of life for our residents, and green infrastructure, I think we're on the right track with that. There is a lot when you use the term conservation to unpack there. It could be the acquisition of undeveloped areas for perpetual green space. It can include the restoration of areas that were formerly developed or industrialized or so-called brownfield sites. It can even include the integration of green into developed areas. And so we want to make this inclusive of all three of those aspects of conservation. And the time for doing it is now. Two reasons. We are forecasting over the next 25 years an additional 3.5 million residents joining our region. And that is roughly the equivalent of dropping a city of Los Angeles into our metro area already. If land use patterns persist, that's going to create about 120 square miles of developed area that is not there today. That's about the size of the city of Atlanta. And so we have some work to do if we're going to conserve at the rate of growth. And don't mistake me, I would not trade the challenges of managing growth with the challenges of stagnation or decline, but it is going to be a little bit heavier lift going forward, particularly in getting some of these very special places that are close to that developing fringe. The other big reason for acting now, I think, is that we have a variety of major funding sources out there that are looking at hazard mitigation and flood mitigation specifically. So I think we have a chance to piggyback some conservation opportunities into other sorts of projects as we go forward. So the big ideas of this initiative, we asked people in each of our listening sessions, what are your big moonshot issues? And the thing we heard basically everywhere we went is everybody's for more trees, basically, whether that be conserving forested areas or new tree planting programs. We can create a lot of environmental and amenity benefits just by taking advantage of our climate and its accessibility or context for a great urban and rural tree canopy. Secondly, we have over 16,000 miles of streams, bayous, lakeshores, and coastlines. Harris County has done a great job with their Bayou Greenways initiative. What if we were able to help extend that further into our 13 county region and take advantage of some of the flood and water quality benefits of creating these buffer zones around those areas, as well as recreation opportunities. And then finally, we want to promote signature projects. What do we mean by that? Certainly a place that would be a pin on somebody's map as I want to visit there someday. So we think about recreation there. I would add to that list projects that are really demonstration efforts. Great example I'll give there is the Exploration Green project in League City, where a decommissioned golf course was built to provide enhanced recreation. There's a lot of flood detention capacity that was added. They have a nursery for growing native tree species. It's really the whole 9 yards. And I think it's a great example of multi-government partnerships and strategic pursuit of grant funding. So we want to have more of these projects in all 13 of our counties where people can say, yeah, that is something we're going to put on our tourism map. And it's also something that's going to be a model for others to consider because most of these projects are very long-term labors and maybe funded in different phases for different elements. But those stories are important for us to teach each other how to up our game and get more of this green space preserved for the future. In addition to the initiatives, we have three big funding strategies of action. Jump to funding since that's the one everybody is most interested in. But first off, we want to leverage the other H-GAC planning programs that are already well established, whether it be our work on flood mitigation, our water quality projects, our regional transportation plan, and of course the SEDS, which we believe this supports all of those entities' plans and strategies, and we want to make sure this is well integrated into your and these other efforts I've described. Secondly, a lot of it is just really providing support. One thing we heard particularly from rural jurisdictions is that they don't really have dedicated staff person to understand what all the opportunities for partnerships and collaboration are in this area. One thing I think we do well at H-GAC is to help facilitate those partners, and particularly for multi-jurisdictional projects, to be a convener. The other two things we heard a need for from elected officials are, you know, what are the real metrics? You know, how much flood storage do I get? Where are the case studies for economic development increments occurring as a result of investment in green space? And finally, what are some effective means of messaging the need for conservation? One thing we heard from a lot of the elected officials is that communities, their constituents, were not necessarily opposed to conservation in green space, but it tended to be a lot more popular if there was a flood mitigation or some other benefit that could be described. So we're going to provide that type of support. Most of the grant budget that we have, I got ahead of myself, I'll get to that in a minute. Most of the effort going forward is going to be, though, really trying to get some projects funded. We're going to take a page from the book of our board's Water Resources Committee, which has developed a priority flood mitigation project list, and do the same for conservation projects. And those top priority projects, as identified by the board, will have access to staff support by H-GAC to help them convene consortiums or even do direct grant application on behalf of multiple jurisdictions. We also want to provide matchmaking services if people have a project, not quite sure which bucket of funding they want to approach. We can provide that sort of technical assistance. Then we also want to see if there are some new financing opportunities that could be looked at. One of the things we're very interested in is could we look at detention at a little bit more of a regional level, or at least a watershed level, and how could that be paid for? Are there other cost burden sharing mechanisms that could be supported by, you know, the downstream entities that would be benefiting by upstream decisions to keep land out of the developed zone? I'll give you a link at the end to the specifics, strategies, and action steps to achieve those aims. I also want to make mention that on the website for this conservation framework, we have a series of tools that we think will be of interest. One is a comprehensive funding guide that will let the user identify the types of land they're interested in conserving. We talked about rural and urban before, different uses they're interested in focusing on, and then types of funding sources they're interested in looking at. So you can click and separate to not look through a huge list of grant opportunities, but really try to hone in on the ones that fit the project and fit your jurisdiction's needs. We also have a conservation toolbox, which talks about a lot of the non-grant tools that communities can use to preserve and enhance green space. We have some data on the ecosystem services benefits. That's the value in things like flood storage or pollution reduction. We have a nice library of model projects from throughout the region, and they're great projects to know about. But the thing I think is good about this is it tells the story of how the project was put together, who the players were, and I think will give you an idea of some of the innovative approaches people have been using in this region to create some of these great green spaces. We also have a conservation mapping tool that separates, based on land cover data, some of the major ecoregions and their quality. And this can be used. You don't need to have GIS experience. You can just do it via our website and see what is in your area and what might be a priority to think about in terms of conservation. So I already queued up the lead. We were very happy that the Houston Endowment was pleased enough with our work to give us another 2-year grant to begin working on those strategies I talked about. And our first effort in that endeavor is going to be to begin populating this priority project list. We're going to do a larger kickoff next month for this, but I want to give you an advanced heads up that if any of you are aware of projects that are important in your ecotourism, recreation, quality of life, community beautification scheme that you would like us to know about, please feel free to reach out to me or Cheryl Murgo, who is the project manager, or to Jillian, and we'd like to get the info in the hopper. The other thing I would like to invite is if you would like for me to give this presentation to any groups that you have that you think would be interested and ought to hear about these opportunities coming up, myself or somebody on our staff will be happy to do that. You can click on this link for to get a copy of the framework document or to access any of the websites. We'll be posting updates as we go forward on soliciting the project list, and I will leave it there and be happy to take any of your questions.
Any questions?
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you all.
Looks like two great presentations. Very exciting today. Let's move down to action item number 7. And that is to approve the 2021-2022 Executive Committee. Jillian, has everyone been contacted to continue serving, I think?
Yes, sir. I'm so sorry. I just noticed my own final edit on this. This page didn't make it on. But yes, per discussions with each of our existing board members, all of them have expressed interest in continuing on in their current seat and participating on the executive committee. And so my recommendation is to actually re-elect the board as a full slate in their standing positions. So
Josh Owens makes a motion to re-elect the slate of executives in their current positions.
Your second?
Second.
Okay. Further discussion? Those that are opposed, say no. Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make sure the revised term dates actually make it onto the website. Yeah, go ahead. Next item, Judge.
We're on item number 8, action item with the RLF defederalization. I think you're going to handle that. Yes, sir. If Omar and or Isaac, I can't see your faces, but feel free to chime in. But essentially, as we sort of previewed last quarterly meeting, we have the opportunity due to our sort of outstanding success in meeting the terms of our RLF, which was actually awarded to us way back during Hurricane Ike, that the completion of that RLF program in alignment with all the requirements of the EDA means that we are going to be awarded the 1.7 million or so and change back to our agency. And essentially what we need today is a resolution to accept the funds. We haven't necessarily identified what's going to happen with them. Of course, they will, a chunk of that or an amount to be determined will be continuing the RLF that we have currently, so we can expand our portfolio there. But hopefully there will be some other things that we as a board can ideate on and figure out what might best support the region and the district. So it's an exciting time to actually have some funds to think about. So yeah, you should have all of the paperwork in your packet. This is what we're going to have to send to the EDA. And essentially today, with your resolution passing, our board president, Judge Roselle, and Chuck are going to be able to sign this and send it back to the EDA so that we can receive those funds in our account. This will be the final value of the awarded RLF. Yeah. So
I make a motion to defederalize. Josh Owens makes a motion to defederalize the Gulf Coast Economic Development District's revolving loan fund so that we can manage that fund locally without federal oversight.
Second.
Thank you, Josh.
John Isom, I'll second.
Yeah.
John seconded. Further discussion? Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Thank you very much. And I will have Jillian, as we talked earlier, when I get back in the state, I will sign those and get them to you.
All right, we will coordinate with that online. Thank you all for your cooperation. It's an exciting time. As Josh mentioned, we get to sort of manage our own money that we successfully rolled out, and we're able to get ordered back to us. So thank you all so much. I think that that should wrap up our action items for today, Judge.
That does. Well, we're on our last item of adjournment. Is there anything else to be said for the good of our district, our communities? If not, let me leave you with this. Remember, July 15th. I want you to think, what happens July the 15th? That's the sign up deadline for our areas to join the Rural Economic Development Research Study. So I'm counting on all you guys out there in the cities to get this information out. We've got 1 week to do it. And I'm gonna make some phone calls, but I'm not even gonna be back for over a week. So it's up to you. How's that for putting weight on your shoulders? Appreciate all of you, and have a great weekend coming up, and stay dry. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jillian.
Thanks.
Bye.